Oh, hello. Welcome to today's video. This is going to be the first in a new section, a new segment, I guess, called Kill Team Strategy Phase, where I want to try and do a bit more of a tactical deep dive, I guess, on a particular area of playing Kill Team. Today's episode, we're going to look at the universal equipment. So, you might be wondering why we're going over the universal equipment. So I already let you know the rules for the universal equipment when I talked about the leaked rule set that came out on Reddit, and we talked about the changes for the new edition. But I've been thinking a lot about it. I want to go back through the universal equipment in a bit more detail and let you know what I think of it, and really to help me clarify my own thoughts, because I'm going to do a series of Kill Team rundowns. We're very much hoping that when Kill Team releases, they're going to drop all the PDF files of all the teams, and that'll be one video per team. And one of the things I'd like to talk about in those videos is to rate and compare the equipment. But in order to do that, we need to kind of settle the power level of the common denominator, right? The universal equipment. So I want to make sure everybody that follows my channel is on the same page. When we're weighing up that faction equipment, we need to be on the same page when we're talking about the universal equipment. So let's go through them. I'll give you my thoughts, and then if you want, you can leave me a nice little comment and let me know why I'm totally wrong. Just some reminders, first of all, you get to pick 4 equipments. You pick them after you know the mission, the map, the initiative role, and your opponent's operative selection. You can get a 5th equipment during the scouting step as one of your scouting options. But as I said before, this is competing with your faction equipment. So every faction we've seen so far has had 4 pieces of faction equipment. And they often include multiple team-wide buffs. They look quite powerful generally. So, you know, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't want to be bothered with any of this stuff, except in a few circumstances, I think taking all your faction equipment isn't really a wrong choice. Although, if you telegraph that that's what you're going to do, I guess it helps your opponent in the scouting phase, because you're probably not going to take that 5th equipment piece. So let's first of all look at the ammo cache. So the ammo cache is one of these pieces. We're going to deal with a few of these straight away. It has a plastic miniature, which is pictured, but in reality, what you're doing is you're placing down a 70.8mm marker in your table half. I'll just explain where I've got that 70.8mm from. So, in game terms, you place down a 20mm marker, and then it works within an inch all around it. So, if you want to just visualize the whole thing, right, it's a 70.8mm marker. And essentially, when you're shooting from within the marker, you can re-roll an attack dice. I can't see it, right? So we've seen a few sniper rifles. We've seen the Scout sniper rifle and the Genestealer Cult sniper rifle, and they seem to have heavy without the dash stipulation on their powerful version of their shot. So you have to be stationary if you're firing those. So do you want to give your sniper an ammo cache? Like, I can kind of see it, I guess. If you really want to try and make that sniper work, you spend one of your equipment points to give it that extra re-roll every time it shoots, or anyone else that's staying in your sort of castled up area. I think quite often with the way they've written snipers, the snipers aren't really worth taking. I mean, obviously, if you're a kill team where you don't really have a lot of choice, then sure, I guess you take the sniper over a basic trooper. But if you're one of these teams like Genestealer Cult, where you are, Brood Brothers, where you're weighing up your sniper versus like a grenade launcher, right? Because if you take the plasma and the melter as a given, you're sort of going grenade launcher. I think the answer is now always the grenade. I think they've kind of ruined sniper rifles a little bit. So even if you're trying to make one work, do you want to compound the problem by then using this as one of your equipment points? I'm not sure that you do. And everyone else that can move is probably best off being more mobile. Maybe there'll be an operative that comes out. We haven't seen every operative. There'll be an operative that comes out that wants to shoot, that wants to stay perfectly still, that is really, really powerful, really, really good, and really, really benefits from an ammo cache. But right now, I rank this as never. Well, hardly ever. Weren't expecting a HMS Pinafore reference in the middle of the Kill Team video, were you? Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say is folks did used to use, in the old edition of Kill Team, a barricade, with fortify to make a little sniper's nest. So people did used to rate snipers highly enough that they would use that little bit of equipment. But that was back in the days where the opportunity cost was, well, I'd have the fortify over the dash or the flip order. These days, at opportunity cost, we've got all the other equipment we're going to go through today, as well as the faction equipment. I just can't see this one. Let me know in the comments why I'm wrong. Comms device. So again, it's another of those 70.8mm markers. You're not actually going to use this little plastic miniature, sadly. When you're inside the marker, your support rules gain 3 inches. So there might be some niche cases for this one. If you look at the Vet Guard preview, their special, we've not seen a spoiler of all the Vet Guard rules, but their special, at the time of recording this, but their special team-wide rule was previewed, where you're projecting a bubble with your orders, like everyone within 6 inches of the model that does the order is benefiting from the order. I can definitely see if that remains the main way that you're issuing orders, extending that bubble out to 8 for Vet Guard would be really cool. And any kind of support ability where you're doing a bubble and you're being able to affect everybody within the bubble, I can definitely see wanting those extra 3 inches being a really big deal. But 6 plus 3 is 9, not even 8, so it's a bubble of 9. So yeah, I can see that being good. But we don't know if Vet Guard are going to have a system like they have now, where you can use the comms to relay the order to everybody anyway, regardless of range, which may well be a thing, and then this is pointless. There might be some other niche rules where you really want one of these, but for the likes of your common or garden variety commsman who's targeting one other guy and giving him an extra APL, often the commsman doesn't have anything to do other than move and then comms. Like, are you really buying a piece of equipment so you can stand your commsman there so you can hope that the extra 3 inches is useful? Like, if you can do that, it saves you an AP, so you, shoot your las gun? I mean, I just can't quite see it being useful as one of your equipment pieces, so my rating is, again, never, well, hardly ever. Mines. So again, it's one of these 70.8mm markers in your table half, more than 2 inches from other markers, and it's D3 plus 3 damage to the first person, friend or foe, to walk on it. 2 inches from other markers means that you can't. Now, so this is confusingly not the 70.8mm marker, the actual game 20mm marker, but 2 inches from it means that still you can't overlap it with the radius of an objective marker, because everything has this extra 1 inch out from the marker. But so it could be, it's big radius could be touching the big radius of an objective marker, but not overlapping it. So you can't, and then it's going to hurt your guys as well. But then the damage it does just isn't enough to actually kill anything, because the max it's going to do is 6, and the minimum number of wounds we've seen is 7. Again, for me, it's never. Sorry. Razor wire. Now this is the spicy one. Okay. So I'm going to read out the rule summary. Before I do that, I'm going to say this is how we think it works according to Ace chatting on Glandy's Discord. Because as I've talked about before, the actual rule is word salad. Absolute word salad, and this needs a FAQ, a clarification or something. We think you place the model down in your table half, more than 2 inches from other equipment terrain, and it costs an extra 2 inches to climb it for a 4 inch total. So you're paying 4, effectively, to move through the razor wire. So this is really powerful, unfortunately. There's no rules at all I can see to prevent you just blocking off an entire doorway with this on Into the Dark. Like, there's no rules about it having to be more than it has to be more than 2 inches from other equipment terrain. But as far as I can tell, you can put this right up against the door on Into the Dark. As far as I can tell, you put all the things right. I imagine this will also be FAQ'd, right? But from what I can tell, you, no problem. We can stuff up all the doorways with terrain on Into the Dark, no problem. And if you can put it somewhere like that, where it's in a doorway, or where even on an open map where it's somewhere, where you've got a narrow passageway where it blocks the entire passageway. It's pretty unclear how, like, Votan and Necrons can even cross this, because they've got a 5 inch move, So even on a 25mm base, they're not going to clear the terrain with a 1-inch move. Because the razor wire is going to have thickness of more than a couple of mil, right? That's kind of the issue here. So, given that we have more and more teams now with a 5-inch move, and I just can't see it. And plus, you got things like Space Marines with the 40mm bases, and the Patriarch with the 40mm base. They're not going to clear it with a 6-inch move either. Now, maybe the intention is that you can sort of climb up it and then, like, move 1 inch forward, and then you're still kind of perched on it, and then you move your dash action, which I probably would let people do, but technically that's against the rules, because you have to be able to be placed. You can't, like, run the move and the dash action together. You have to be in a position where you could be placed between the move and the dash. So, if that is how it works, it's broken. It's too good. It's pretty nasty. It's pretty well a negative thing, a negative play experience, I would say. Because if you can genuinely, like, imagine you're playing against Votann on Into the Dark, and you just use this to block off a key doorway, on your half of the table. Like, is that just GG? Like, yeah, can't get in there. Can't get that objective. That's insane. That's massive. That's ridiculous. Now, part of that could be fixed, but I do think they need to for Into the Dark. You can still do that with the barricade now, right? Which you didn't used to be able to in the old game. But that's only 2 inches. This is being 4 inches is even more, like, ridiculous. But even if you remove the Into the Dark door thing and you think that'll get fixed, I still think it's a bit good, just because you can block off an entire, if you do have one of those narrow passageways. I don't know. It seems a bit busted to me. In some games, you could take razor wire and it wouldn't matter at all, right? Because the map doesn't have a particular choke point where it's particularly ridiculous, or the opposing team has got a 6 or 7-inch move, so they're not as bothered, because they can just move through it and then carry on with the dash or something else after that, right? But yeah, razor wire is a weird one. If you think you've got a better handle than Ace on how razor wires works, please do share in the comments below. Light barricades. So light barricades, you get 2 of them. It's just like it was in the old days, really. You get 2 of them. You put them. It can go in your entire table half, more than 2 from equipment terrain. So again, there's no rules about proximity to other terrain or doors or anything like that. It's light terrain. If you liked them before in the old edition of the game, you'll still like them now. There's no way to put them on terrain anymore. We used to have the Fortify scouting option. That's gone, except on Beta Decima. Of course, you can put all this stuff on the gantries in Beta Decima. I would say it's probably going to be an auto pick on Into the Dark and Beta Decima for most teams. Just because there's a lack of, like, I guess certain teams like Night Lords can kind of go, oh well, I can get obscured from other things, or Mandrakes, where they kind of get their ability to hide in the shadows and stuff. But I think a lot of the time you're going to be like, well, no, we need more terrain, because there's none on Beta Decima, and Into the Dark can have a lot of empty rooms. I will say I've looked at the maps, and I'm going to bring up the maps a couple of times. Like, if you're playing on this map here that I've put this red circle on, and you are the blue player, there's just this objective that's just like, yo, I'm the only objective in any of the official Volkos maps that's just not, there's no cover on. Maybe you want to slap a light objective down on there. If you are that player, that's one of, that's your home objective, as well, and it's just sort of chilling in the open, where it's overlooked by, like, potentially opponent. Like, this does at least block most of this vantage point. So if you put the barricade kind of here-ish, like, maybe they can't get an angle from this vantage point. So, just something there to stop you just dying would probably be good. So yeah, it's the same as it ever was. You don't have to. I personally hate taking barricades on my Night Lords because I'm really aggressive. I want to push forward. But again, there's just certain maps where you probably would want to take your allotments of barricades. Then you've got heavy barricade. So heavy barricade is heavy terrain, but crucially, you can only place it within 2 inches of your drop zone. Right, so unlike the light barricade, which can now go in your entire table half, this is really just drop zone protection, right? It's nice that it's 2 inches because it means that you can, rather than having to stand in your drop zone and then stand behind it, you can stand right at the edge of your drop zone and then with the barricade in front of you, which is nice. It is quite a bit less useful than the light barricade because it has to be only near your drop zone, but it's very handy for making dodgy drop zones safe. If you've got a drop zone, especially where the drop zone might be overlooked by vantage, you can drop one of these down to give yourself some more safe space. I can see some places where if you're playing like a Chaos Cult, like a 14-man team on the Volcus layouts, you might want a heavy barricade just to give yourself a little bit of extra safe deployment space for you guys. Really seems pointless on Into the Dark because on Into the Dark your deployment zones are always really safe. Light barricades are great because they can go further up the table into those contested rooms. Heavy barricades really can't get into the contested rooms, so it's pointless on Into the Dark. But on Beta Decima, I think it's probably kind of a must-have. A lot of the Beta Decima maps, those flanks are totally exposed, where you've got them, around the edges of the pool, as it were. So I think this is situational must-have. When you want one, you will really want one. Just to give you an idea of what I mean, here's a couple of the Volcus maps where I looked at it and went, those 2 deployment zones look a little bit more open than they could be. Did I mean to circle this one? I don't know if I meant to circle this one really, but this one looks a little bit more open, and maybe this one looks a little bit more open. I think this has slipped from when I rearranged the slides slightly, but certainly this top left one is correct. I think this top right one as well, it looks a little, I don't know, but use your own judgment. If you're playing a Horde team, it's no, never mind. I definitely didn't mean this one. I don't know what one. Nah. Ladders. So, ladders, you place the plastic molds, you get 2 of them in your table half against terrain that's more than 2 inches tall. At least 2 inches tall, sorry, so exactly 2 inches is fine. It costs 1 inch to climb a ladder. So from the foot of the ladder to the top of the ladder, that climb is 1 inch. It's really good in most of the Volcus layouts, actually. I think the Volcus layouts have been designed to reward you for taking ladders. Really good as well on Beta Decima, right? Where you often got your deployment zone, and then directly in front of your deployment zone, you've got a gantry, and your first thing is, I'm gonna want to get up onto the gantry, and then this is going to make that more easy for you to get up there in position. Pointless, obviously, on Into the Dark. What? But I've just tried to circle a few of the places on the. You can see how many there are on most of the layouts on the sort of official Velcros layouts where you could put a ladder there. That would be quite useful. Loads of places where you could put a ladder that would help you to sort of move up in the game. Obviously, if you're playing the Vespid Stingwings, you don't want ladders, Everything is situational. Nothing should be... There's nothing that is 100% of the time. You always take this. In this entire list, there's nothing that's that good. Maybe the Razor... But even the Razor Wire, as broken as I think it is, against some teams on some maps, they'll just ignore it. They'll just go, that's cute, and walk around it, right? The portable barricade. Portable barricade's fun. So you place this model in your table half, 2 inches away from the terrain, and it's light cover. And then for the model that's touching both the feet on the inside of the barricade, they get a +1 save, and they can carry it. You can't jump, climb, or drop, and you lose 2 inches of your move, but you can carry it around with you. This is really funny. I can kind of see it working on a plasma gunner. If you've got a shooter without a heavy weapon, but with a long-range weapon, right, who's going to be a target, it's going to benefit from the +1 to their save, and they're still going to be pretty mobile, but they might not mind losing a bit of ability for that 1-up save. I say a shooting model because, obviously, Sorry, you're not going to be closing with your opponent as quickly as you would be without the massive shield. So someone with a bit of range, someone with a full range weapon is going to get good use out of it. But I think it's quite cool. I've put it as a sometimes food because it feels like something that you take if, you had talked yourself out of taking some of the stuff that's a bit more situationally, like, almost mandatory. And there was some in your faction equipment list that you didn't want to take. This kind of feels like it could be in the faction equipment list in terms of its sort of, it's just really cool. But it's not. You're not going to be really sad if you don't take it, is kind of my thing. Smoke grenades. So smoke grenades work differently now. So they are shared with the stun grenades. So what the actual equipment is called utility grenades. And you can take 1 or 2 smokes, or 2 stuns, or 1 smoke and 1 stun. So with a smoke grenade for 1 AP, you throw a smoke grenade 6 inches, and it creates another of these 70.8mm markers. And then when you're within that marker, you're obscured, and you can't be pierced unless the enemy is within 2 of you, right? It lasts for the rest of that turning point and D3 activations into the next turning point. Lots of the Volkers maps have these big empty fire lanes that would benefit from a smoke grenade, and I think if you're playing a more aggressive team like, Night Lords or the Beastmen, right, where you're wanting to move forwards aggressively, smoke grenade might be something you really want. A sort of a more flexible alternative to a barricade that you can deploy as and when you want. I think that's pretty cool, and really useful on Beta Decima as well, because of how much open space there is. So that's just a few of the places where you might think a smoke grenade would be handy as you advance, because you've got these kind of open lanes that you might find yourself in, which, are classic kind of places where you might want to put a smoke grenade. Especially the top 2, right? I realise that the bottom ones I've done wrong, but there is one here on the bottom a little bit, but the top 2 especially, there's a couple of these kind of really open lanes. So yeah. Stun grenades. So again, that's shared with smoke, so you take 1 or 2 of these. For 1 AP, 1 model can throw it at an operative within 6 invisible. That operative and all operatives within 1 roll a dice. On a 3-up, they get -1 APL. A lot of people on the internet that know better than me, like, are saying these are really good. Like, they were saying they're really good during the exhibition match. Crit's been saying they're really good. I just don't, it's too random for me. It's like, it's got a 1 in 3 chance of doing nothing, and it's a piece of equipment, I only get 2 of them. And it's like, well, so for me, it's never, well, hardly ever. Frag grenades. So this is the other set of grenades, the offensive grenades, and again you take 1 or 2 and they're shared with your crack grenades. So for 1 action point you shoot with a frag grenade as if it was a gun. So 4 attacks, hit on 4s, damages 2/4, 6-inch limited range, blast of 2 inches, and saturation, which for the old fogies in the audience is the old no cover, right? So grenades aren't what they once were because they've lost in direct, which I somehow didn't dwell on when I was first reading through the rules changes, which was kind of the main point of grenades, right? You could use them for kind of winkling people out from behind cover and things. I feel like a good opponent isn't going to let you catch many people in the blast with this, and there's not enough damage for me, and the ballistic skill, the hit, as we should call it now, has been nerfed, so it's a 50% miss chance. Never. Crack grenades. So, the same thing. You can take 1 or 2 shared with frag. And for 1 AP, you can shoot. There's 4 attacks hit on 4 again, but this time it's damage 4/5. Loses blast, but gains piercing 1. Not what they once were, but they are still my cup of tea, I think. Like, I can understand wanting to take a crack grenade. Especially, I've been playing a lot of Night Lords. I'm sure there are other examples, but the Night Lords... Lightning Claw fellow doesn't have a gun, so you have a crack grenade. Shoot that twice in a game when he's got shots to be shooting. I mean, that's pretty cool. So, yeah, I think crack grenades are sometimes food. They're a sometimes food. So this is effectively my tier list, if you want, of where I rank the equipment. I think that the frag grenade, the stun grenade, the minefield, the comms machine, and the ammo, you really have to do some convincing to make me want to take those. Crack grenades and the mobile barricade are things that I think are cool and fun, and I want to take them in games, but it's the opportunity cost things. I think you're going to run into occasions where you look at the map and you look at the your opposing team and you go, I really want smoke, or I really want a light barricade set, or I really want heavy barricades, or I really want ladders. And I think those are almost your first 4 equipment that you're going to have to consider every time, and it's only when you're like, okay, I can do without this because I can do without this because I can do without this because, then you consider the crack grenades and the mobile barricades, or more likely the faction equipment, right? And then the razor wire is just, it upsets me. I wish it wasn't in the game, because right now the way people think it works is just really persecute squats and necrons in a sort of, it's funny, but it's not funny because it's kind of sad. And in a game that's really well written in almost every respect, I wish we weren't sort of going, oh, razor wire rules make a lot of sense. How does it work? And then like one of the top players is like, oh, I've heard like it works like this. And it's like, okay, but if it works like that, it's not great. Guys, I don't know. Let me know if you've got a better idea. But this is what I managed to come up with. So that's the final thoughts page. So please remember, I'm not very good. I'm not claiming to be a kill team expert or, someone that's won loads of events, loads of tournaments in the previous edition. I'm just a dude with a microphone and free time. So if you think I'm desperately wrong, please do let me know why in the comments. I think Better Decima tables are going to look funny, because I think in virtually every game on Better Decima, you're going to see people taking two light barricades, a heavy barricade, and 2 ladders. And then possibly smokes, possibly razor wire, possibly a piece of faction terrain, I don't know. But you're going to see a lot of that, especially because in Better Decima you can put those barricades on top of the actual platforms, which are otherwise totally exposed. I think that's going to be quite common. If you enjoyed the video and you learned something, please consider subscribing and sharing. That really helps me out. And a massive thank you to all my members who support me every single month with real life cash money. If you decided you wanted to become a channel member, there's a join button down below on YouTube, which will take you through. You get to watch a secret little extra video that tells you about the various perks that you get. Chief among them is you get to watch the old videos for all of the live streams that we do on a Wednesday. Missed this week because of work stuff, but all of the live streams that we do on a Wednesday going back for quite a number of weeks now. So there's hours and hours and hours of free content. Well, not free, paid for. It's paid for content, but there's hours and hours of it. So that's there if you would like that. Alright folks, hope you enjoyed the video. Do let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you all next time. Cheery, 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 cheerio. Bye bye, bye bye.